Tonight's episode, photo finish.
Hey, thank you for that. So, this is 4 minutes in, and we'll start all over again. It's like the third time I've said all this. So, I guess I figured out that I wasn't in here before and then put myself in here and I muted myself. But that's what happens when I start and nobody's out there to offer any feedback. This isn't a presentation or produced video, it is a conversation. So, thanks for that. Tactical Six Stream is one of the dudes that was around back in the beginning of Gun Channel, so 2013 era YouTuber. I guess you're still a YouTuber technically. Let's see. So then we get we're going into what we're talking about here. I guess I got to start all over again for the third time. This is nothing new. We are looking at the ATF comment periods. This one is for the frame or receiver, the redefinition of a firearm, effectively. We've done these readings a couple of times now and discovered that they are no longer filtering the same way as they have in the past. So I haven't been doing them at the same pace as I have before, or I wanted to, let's say. But we were just looking, and there's 45,000 comments received at this point, and of those, 22,000 of them are approved. So again, that ratio, or that percentage there, is almost half. So they're approving half of the comments that come in. And that might seem good or bad to you. So let's take a look at the past comment periods to help determine if that is good or bad, that 50% ratio. So in the last comment period, we had about 74,000 comments come in. Let's just say 73,000 comments came in, and about 10% of those were approved, only 7,000, right? And I think that's interesting because the last time they ended the situation, they ended the whole idea, the whole challenge to us within a week. Like, it didn't even take a week for them to close that out. The bump stocks was the one prior to that in March of 2018. You have to put yourself back to March of 2018 and ask yourself, were you a Second Amendment advocate back then? Were you paying attention to this, or were you paying attention to the news? And if the news brought the bump stock situation in front of you, then you paid attention to it. We had a situation in 2018 where they used effectively an atrocity against firearms owners to marginalize legal gun owners into shutting up while they moved that infringement through, the bump stock ban. So this comment period for the bump stock ban was a difficult time as gun owners because there was an apathy created by media. You can agree with me or disagree with me, but you have the ability to do that publicly. So you can do that privately, or you can do that publicly here in the comments, or make a video about it. But that's why I'm going to stand on it, that that we let ourselves down by letting ourselves be shamed. Either case, we had 200,000 approximately comments submitted in the full 90-day comment period. It wasn't enough to stop their decision, and they approved a quarter of them, 95,000 of 200. Oh no, that's about a half of them, 95,000 of 200,000. So the time that they didn't listen to us, they approved half the comments. The time before that was the M855. We were successful. They ended the comment period about a week early, so it still went for quite a while. I remember back in 2015, it was a difficult time as an activist. I was a new activist, and I was wet behind the ears, and I thought that we could actually get people to change their mind. I thought YouTubers might be worth a shit. So I thought with the momentum that YouTube had and the successes that the community had had just recently, remember 2015 was just a year and some months away from the success we had resisting Obama's executive actions. So in 2015, it was not an easy given. It was not an easy route, and it was not a given that we won that one. We won that one because YouTubers, people on YouTube, not the YouTubers themselves, the YouTubers themselves, if you go back and look, you think they removed those videos? No, they never made those videos. So the commotion that happened on YouTube was little, especially compared to earlier successes like in 2013. But in 2015, the commotion did reach to the national level radio, syndicated radio people. And at the time, they were still, at 2015, they still had a significant baton. I don't know how big they are now, especially with Rush Limbaugh being gone. And it wasn't Rush Limbaugh, it was one of the other radio people, one of the dudes that yells all the time and gets mad about everything that comes up in the news. But because it hit such a large audience there, the comment period did end early, and they immediately brushed all that under the rug and didn't talk about it much. And obviously they waited 3 years before attempting it again. So I guess we're looking at this just to look at history, because I've been doing this each time in case people are looking at this video and they haven't watched the other readings. But I like to start off this way because it gives us some insight, some intel as to their strategies in the past. So when they've ended the comment periods with a win on our side, it's been a relatively smaller percentage of comments being approved. In other words, they filter the comments and only show, let's call them the good ones. They only show the comments that are unique and on point and are, poignant. Is that the right word? Like on topic, that are worthwhile and useful. When they filter down the comments, in other words, when they adjust the filters and allow boilerplate comments to go through, when we have a 50% rate of comments being approved, I think that filters and cloudies the water. And that's why I bring all this up, because the last time we've looked, all we can find in the current comments plate, there's good intention there, but it allows them to suggest that we don't care and that we're allowing organizations to speak for us and we're just potentially bots. In other words, automatic systems and not individuals, because we didn't take the time to write an individual unique comment. Let's see. Yep, you can think that if you want. And then I urge you to look at one of those comics where there's three people sitting in a boat, a little rowboat, and the person who's in the water is bailing and the other two are laughing at him. And if you want to secede, you're welcome to, but you're not going to get a free pass in my comments to suggest that you can do nothing and watch others fail. That's useless, and it's actually aggressive, really. It's like, again, go leave if you want. If you don't like this country, because the country is all of us. If you want to be separate, you're welcome to go be separate. And you can take that however you want it. Let's see. Did you see if a pistol has sights? Guess what this is? The definition of a frame or receiver, identification of firearms. This is an actual comment period that's open right now. So I'm not one to follow the lead of what the media tells us to pay attention to. Instead, I'm going to continue to focus on the actual comment period that's open right now. So whether or not I saw this has nothing to do with this comment period that we're actually in. As I'm explaining, we're in a comment period that's a little different than the last one where we succeeded. They've either changed tactics or things have changed unintentionally to our disadvantage. Let's keep going. So we'll click it over to the comment page, tab, I guess, of the website. I flipped it over to sort by newest to oldest. And then looking at the thing, it says this was posted on June 7th. It's yesterday. And then comment number 17,788. That's interesting. So there's 45,000 coming through. And we're looking at comment 17,000 being the most recent one. That's interesting. So just in that amount of time, something must have happened. I flipped this to newest to oldest before. Anyway, now we're at comment 19,303, which is a lot closer to that 22,000. So the way that I've been doing this is I'm going to right click and open a new tab on the first couple of these comments. And these are the comments that are submitted on the, what is it called? Frame or receiver and identification of firearms, effectively the redefinition of firearms. And we're just going to open up a bunch of these sequentially. Back over there so we can find, and now we'll just take a look at what some of these comments are and if they are, well, what they are. Leave it that way. So this is the first page, not necessarily the whole page, but most of the front page it looks like. I don't know, 10 or 12 maybe are opened here. So the first one is comment 19303, and all it is see attached files, and it says rights of citizens, and it's a PDF file. If I open it, I'll just open it. Ugh, it opened it with Windows. So it's like a 4-page thing with a bunch of paragraphs. I'm just skimming it, and it does talk about it. So for some reason, the person decided to send in an attachment, which is a PDF, I guess, or else it was converted to a PDF. And this is what it says. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and make this bigger for you people, and then we'll make it bigger that way. So now we can read it, and I'll do the same over here, actually. Zoom in a bit so we can read these things a lot easier. All right, so going back to this attachment from comment number 19303, rights of citizens. The U.S. Constitution is written to define the responsibilities of government as outlined in the Declaration of Independence and to impose limitations on the U.S. government. The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are only protected when you, government officials, elected, appointed, or hired, decide that my rights as citizens are equal responsibility yours. You are the elected or appointed official and are obligated, in bold, to uphold my rights or face prosecution. My Second Amendment right is equally important to my other rights given to me by the Creator and guaranteed by U.S. Constitution, and no other citizen, non-citizen has the right nor obligation to infringe on my God-given right to defend myself and my family against any oppressor. Today, I'm saying it's being weird. I can't right-click like I normally do. Today, this proposed regulation, Federal Register number 2021-10058, is the oppressor because it imposes additional restrictions on the Second Amendment right that I already enjoy. This regulation adds additional unnecessary time and costs to the God-given right we already are guaranteed. This action, if enacted, removes or hinders the rights that are guaranteed. This is already true with current regulations, and the court cases have not been settled upon other actions taken by citizens questioning the constitutionality of said regulations. I might have said that wrong. Here are a few examples of the folly that this regulation would add to the body politic and inhibit that guaranteed right we all already enjoy. We do not call a 2x4 a house, we call it lumber, and there isn't an additional waiting period or license fees when you buy lumber to repair a home. A wooden stick is a weapon if utilized by a lawbreaker in that manner. We do not call an alternator a car, and there isn't an additional waiting period or license fees when replacing an alternator or any other automobile part. An automobile is a weapon if utilized in that manner. By changing normal, established language or clarification does not negate the risk that any object that can be weaponized. The amount of possible items that can be weaponized and has associated risk from a lawbreaker goes on ad infinitum. The attempts to wordsmith the name or classification adds to the cost and time that are not yours to regulate. The Constitution does not regulate nor prohibit having weapons, nor does it prohibit us to have parts. The Constitution does not prohibit what a person may purchase or trade. The intention to somehow deter crimes committed with objects is already codified in law. The Commerce Clause is intended to regulate transactions across state lines, not to prohibit transactions within a particular state. These words are not lightly written. The U.S. government has revoked the rights of free people in the United States with regular occurrence. For more than 100 years, socialists and progressives have infiltrated all branches of government and have stolen the rights of future generations. Starting in the administration of Woodrow Wilson and going forward, Americans have ceded freedom. Freedom lost because of false belief that somehow the citizen will have security. The false promises of these socialist and progressive ideologies have destroyed other civilizations, and the people will not be fooled. These ideals have harmed the citizen of these United States. These ideals are not progress, they are in fact tyranny. This recent proposal, Federal Register number 2021-10058, calling mechanical parts a firearm, is ignorance and introduces an underhanded regulation designed to seize my rights and undermining the Second Amendment. Declaring that parts are firearms is an affront to the natural law and morality that we commonly share in ordinary language. This regulation causes me to question the intelligence and motives of those that wrote this and those that propose it. Requiring a special license or additional fees in order to enjoy my Second Amendment right that I already have is unconstitutional. It is questionable that any regulation of the Second Amendment is valid when looking through the lens of strict textual adherence. Sadly, people in the past have fallen hostage to the propaganda or wordsmithing of socialists and communists and have relinquished their own rights and the rights of American posterity unless we the people respond and take back the rights that are guaranteed by the Constitution. There are people that have irrational fears and feel afraid of mass shootings or gun violence. Fear and feelings have no rights guaranteed under the Constitution, thus making them a moot point. The legislative and executive and judicial branches have taken an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, not pander to the unfounded fear of inanimate objects made of metal and plastic. Wood. Enforcement of this proposition is going to be improbable at best, as most regulations that are in the Federal Register. Do you plan to confront each citizen with armed police and forcibly seize the parts? How many police would actually do this? What is next? Holding hostage the families of police in order to get compliance? Is the duty of U.S. government to protect the citizenry from foreign powers? Is it not the duty of the U.S. government to force it is not the duty of the U.S. citizen to force its citizens into compliance in how they purchase parts. Enforcement creates an actual founded fear, and people will not respond with compliance. Have you not heard the term mole and lobby? How many people are you willing to murder in order to accomplish your goal? Are you going to send FBI to question me because of this letter? Intimidation and coercion are temporary and result in a disregard for the desired behaviors. This proposed regulation, Federal Register number 2021-10058, clearly threatens freedom and without cause aligns our unelected and elected officials a partner without cause unelected and elected officials a partner in violating the rights of U.S. citizens and the U.S. Constitution. This proposed regulation pushes the citizenry toward very harmful civil outcome. There is some hyperbole in this statement, however. People will only be backed into a corner so far before they respond. Prudence indeed will dictate that, this is a quote, prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these. These words from our Declaration of Independence are lived out in modern America today, in modern America. Today, the U.S. government mandates charity, or in the metaphysical terms, they take from Peter to pay Paul without Peter's request or approval, theft. Today, the government declares who of us can work in certain professions. Today, the government fails to protect us from marauders that destroy our belongings and kill the innocent. Today, the U.S. government declares that murder of children in the womb is legal, murder. Today, the U.S. government declares that doctors can assist in suit. Oh my gosh, it keeps going. There's like 15 things that he brings up that have nothing to do with guns. So, government declares doctors as murder. U.S. government declares the rich as extortion. The crops as subjugation. I'm not reading anymore in this. The question is if you're a U.S. government official will further the erosion of freedom or will you refuse to take part in this insanity? Adding the individual names of the civil service regulators working in the ATF or Commerce Department to civil suits is an alternative that citizens can assert. What additional item do we have if you refuse to adhere to the Constitution? Oh, so they're going to sue everybody. The citizen stands in strong opposition to this regulation. I stand in strong opposition to the many unconstitutional rules and regulations that the U.S. government has without challenge imposed on the everyday lives of its citizens. I strongly urge you to reverse course before it's too late. This great nation is the last vestige of freedom on earth. That's a long one. So that's 4 pages of. Are they even going to read that? They have to click on that to read it, I guess. We read it. Let's see. Got some comments. I think what I was thinking is, why don't I go to edit this, bring this over here. I guess I got to bring the whole thing over here. Go back to here, and then why don't I put the title so that people don't think this is like I'm trying to exploit or capitalize off the new hype. I don't care about the new hype until it ain't hype. Put that over here, and now people will know not to bother coming in here and being worried about whatever else it is. Is it braces again? I think it's going back to braces. I haven't read that one yet. I don't know. That was okay, and then it was shitty, and then it got worse, and then it was ridiculous. I don't like anything about that comment. I don't know if I'm commenting or not. I guess I'm commenting. I think that one was a waste of time. Let me know what you think. Not only was it a waste of time to read, I personally feel like that guy owes me money, but I didn't even want to know that people are wasting that much time. I mean, you can have all those opinions if you want, but that didn't help nothing. The ATF is just going to roll their eyes, and now you look like a weirdo. Like oh my God, you had 15 pages of stuff like farming is the rich subjugating us. Like, yeah, that has a lot to do with it, and that adds a lot to your credibility, guy. Having like a list of 16 things that completely off topic, completely tangential. Is that the right word? Just try to use some crazy word. All right, so next is comment 19383. I oppose the proposed rule 2021 R-05. It isn't needed, and it's just more red tape we don't need. You know what? That's 2 that aren't boilerplate. So it's 3 that aren't boilerplate. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. They left themselves a loophole, and now we're going to be able to read good ones, I think. Number 19384. I would implore you to please not use this very broad and yet restrictive ruling, as it is already hard enough to understand the many rules while trying to purchase and own firearms as it is. My question is, what is the purpose of the law proposal? It's a little bit of a run-on sentence, but it was well done, and your position is evident. So I think that's a good one. And you can read these. These are like quick and easy. I think there's a lot to be said for these quick and easy ones. They don't go into a lot of depth, obviously, but I'll bet you could make them be real effective. This next one is 19386. So 19,386 other humans. Maybe some people commented twice, but approximately 19,000 of the 350 million. Think about the difference there. 19,000 other human beings commented before this comment we're about to read, out of a country of 360 million. Talk about a challenge. How can you reach enough people to make a change in something like this, which could potentially make a change in the next person's interest in putting effort into the next thing? That's how momentum builds, and it's also how apathy appears. So comment 19386. If no one needs a new definition of a frame or receiver, this is an obvious attempt to subvert the Second Amendment. Shall not be infringed. Oh, it says no one needs a new definition. Excuse me, I made it sound like a question. Yeah, I guess that's, it's whatever. It's extreme, whatever. It's got a lot. That guy drank a lot of coffee and then posted. But I should say a chick, because let's assume this is a chick instead of being sexist. So anyway, that chick drank a lot of coffee and then commented, but it gets to the point, right? And it's quick. I love it. Am I experiencing, and you're experiencing it with me because I'm doing it and you're watching? Are we experiencing, because these are the first ones, these are sequential, did they refilter? Are we looking at actual good comments only again? Or are we just hitting a bubble of good ones? You can comment out there if you think it's a bubble of good ones. Clover says his 10,000 of his. So in other words, Clover comments every minute he's waiting for the Texas governor to sign Constitutional Carry and Suppressor Freedom Act. Burn, what a wicked burn. Even in the morning over here in Arizona, I guess it's early afternoon, I can give Texas a wicked burn. 19264. A mechanical device that cannot be assembled as it exists without machine work is a block of steel, aluminum, or plastic, nothing else. No rule or illogical justification on the part of the BATF will make it a firearm frame. Quit this encroachment on my rights. This guy has his hair all greased back with some sort of a salve. He's got a really full beard that he spends more attention than I spend on my van. And he reads books to learn words that other people don't use. But it's a comment that makes a point to the ATF on how it should be. Let's see. This one is 19264. A mechanical device that cannot be assembled as it exists without machine work is a block of steel. Did I just read the same one twice? Oh, no, I'm a dumbass. That's me. I opened the same one twice. So that's my fault. That's user error. That's my fault. 81% of the comments come from Clover. He thinks it's a bubble. Okay, we got one bubble. We got one pocket of positives. We'll see. We'll see, because I'm gonna root this out. I'm gonna be here for a while. Grab some coffee. Next up is comment 19365. I think your time should be spent finding out what is causing people in America to go crazy and shoot each other. Until the root of the problem is found and addressed, everything else is a waste of time and money. In your line of business, you must know that whatever you do, criminals, crazies, and anyone who has a heart to kill will always find a way to kill. The problem isn't guns, it is the people holding the guns. Guns' main function is for protection. Anything you do that denies that function to citizens is wrong. Find the root, rip it out, and you will have solved the problem. All right, well, first off, this person is obviously better than most people because they're coming from a place of heart and feeling and growth, right? Because of the root and the rip it out by the root and whatnot. That's a person who knows how to garden. And that's an indication of a person who's better than regular people. I'm just saying. So first off, this comment's amazing. And now you're going to say it's a girl. I'm going to say it's a dude comment because I'm not sexist like you. That was a good comment. Next up is 19266. This is a boilerplate. So maybe these dudes are right. Maybe there's a boilerplate, and it's unedited boilerplate. I haven't read it yet today, so we're going to read it just for the record. And I don't know whose it is, so if you know whose boilerplate this is, kick them in the nuts. At least on the internet, kick them in the nuts for me, because they're encouraging laziness, two-way laziness. ATF 2021R-05. The ATF must immediately withdraw their proposed rules to criminalize so-called ghost guns. To start, the very phrase ghost guns is a politically charged pejorative used to scare Americans and justify the infringement on our right to craft a homemade firearm, a right ancillary to the Second Amendment. Remember my comment about being kicked in the nuts? In fact, some of the items being classified as ghost guns are best described as non-firearms because they do not meet any federal definition and are not functioning weapons. Other items referred to as ghost guns are completed 80% research kits, which can be described as fully functioning homemade firearms rather than the manipulative phrase ghost guns. When the state of California and Giffords Law Center sued to force the ATF to enact gun control by alleging threats posed by ghost guns, it was the ATF that filed a motion to dismiss the case. Here's what the ATF said just a few months ago in January of 2021. While any specific crime is a tragedy, 8 such crimes out of the 1.1 million violent crimes committed in the relevant 6-year period is a far cry from an overwhelming wave that would cause a state injury sufficient to confer standing. Nor can California plausibly plead that these crimes would not have occurred with traditional serialized firearms. So suck it, California. The ATF must live by its own words and recognize the constitutional right of the United States citizens to craft their own firearms to keep themselves safe. No proposed gun control law, including the proposed regulation of so-called ghost guns, will stop criminals from being able to obtain and use firearms in the commission of crimes. All right, it's like 81% good, right? But they're encouraging laziness. They put a really good boilerplate out there, and this everybody's copying and pasting it. I think it's hurting us, unfortunately. Hurting us as opposed to just everybody being awesome. Why can't everybody just be awesome all the time? So next up is 19415. This is unconstitutional and un-American and not legal. No. I think they understand which position they're taking, but I butchered that, but they didn't make the best tiny sentence ever. Next up is 19387. Definitions must not be changed to suit anti-gun narratives. That's exactly what's happening here. It's repulsive, un-American, and unconstitutional. They state the case, but they don't specifically say, do not pass, whatever. So I don't know. I've read a lot of these, and very few of them say, don't do this, but that's the only thing I can mansplain on that one. Next up is 19368. This proposed rule is unconstitutional. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So they did capitalize not, even though they quoted it, but whatever. I don't like that one. It's 3/4 lazy. I don't know. Boilerplate, same boilerplate. I am not in favor of any new, this is number 19241. I am not in favor of any new laws or regulations concerning type of firearm, part, definition, lower or upper, 80%. These new definitions will do nothing to stop criminals or make anyone safer. This does nothing but further burden the law-abiding citizens who want to obtain a firearm for self-protection. This is a very bad idea. Like right there, that's a regular old like, oh, wait a minute, I got to go tell the dumbass ATF to shut up. Like that's that kind of comment. That's what you need. That's what I'd like to see, just a zillion of those. 1 zillion, is that too much to ask? All you have to do is like 1,000 each, and we have a zillion of them. Lazy. Next up is 19262. This proposed regulation ignores the plain text of the statute by redefining frame or receiver as frames or receivers. The rationale behind this change fails as well, as it could easily have been applied to firearms in existence at the time of the statute, such as the 1911 or the AK-47, both of which might have made multiple frames or receivers under the new definitions. The millions of weapons have already sold under the current definition. The current definition has endangered reliance as engineered, no, engendered, holy crap, engendered, I don't know if I've ever read that word before, engendered reliance interests that are improperly treated in the proposed rules. I don't even know what that means. Further, the proposed crackdowns on the liability of ordinary Americans to make their own firearms are inconsistent with the history and text of the Second Amendment. Under the right to make one's own firearms has long and storied tradition, free of government regulations. Please withdraw this unconstitutional rule. I feel like I've read that one before, but I also feel like I've never read some of those words before, so I don't know about that one. It's good though, and it lets them know which way they feel about it, right? Next up is 19295. The Second Amendment was written to keep the government from taking power from the people. This bill is clearly another way to start doing that. Leave our rights alone. All right. Well, I tell you what, that's no bubble. You can bite your bubble, because I don't think it was a bubble. I think that we got 2 boilerplates in there out of like a whole bunch of other ones. So now I'm going to CSI this. We're going to go over here and we're going to start just peeling them from the bottom. That's what I'm doing. And they're going right here. So we're going to see them happen right here. And we're going to see, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 7 in a row sequentially from the bottom of the list. If 5 of these are boilerplate, then we caught a bubble. If 0 of them are boilerplate, you have to have a newfound appreciation for the Second Amendment. Otherwise, you're just a robot. Let's see. This is a boilerplate. It's a different one. It's a boilerplate, though. It's super long, and I gotta read it. So 19459. A well-regulated militia being necessary. Oh my God, I've read this before. A well-regulated militia being necessary to this. That's what it is. They put 2 thes in there, and they're acting like I'm the one screwing this up. No wonder. It's not my fault. They put too many thes in it. A well-regulated militia being necessary. What do they do here? They messed this up completely. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the something of free state. Damn it! No, I can't even say it. To the protection of free state, right? People who keep bear arms shall not be infringed. So they missed a word there. This is a constitutional right that specifically states shall not be infringed. Infringement is defined as the limitation or undermining of something or the violation of a legally binding document. All laws which are repugnant to the Constitution are null and void. Every law consistent with the Constitution will have been made in pursuance of the powers granted by it. Every usurpation or law repugnant to it cannot have been made in pursuance of its powers. Changing definitions or creating rules limiting or undermining the Second Amendment is unconstitutional, making it a false law. Enforcement of false law that limits or undermines the Second Amendment is acting under color of law. Section 242, front 242 of Title 18 makes it a crime for a person acting under color of law to willfully deprive a person of a right or privilege protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States. For the purpose of front 242, acts under color of law include acts not only done by federal, state, or local officials within their lawful authority, but also acts done beyond the bounds of that official's lawful authority. If the acts are done while the official is purporting to or pretending to act in the performance of his or her official duties. Persons acting under color of law within the meaning of this statute include police officers, prison guards, and other law enforcement officials, as well as judges, care providers in public health facilities, and others who are acting as public officials. It is not necessary that the crime be motivated by animus, something towards the race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, or national origin of the victim. The offense is punishable by a range of imprisonment up to a life term or the death penalty, depending on the circumstances of the crime and the resulting injury, if any. And finally, let's not forget the legally binding oath that all federal employees swear, including ATF employees, an oath to support and defend the Constitution from enemies, both foreign and domestic. A legally binding oath which the violation of is illegal. The fourth federal law provides penalties for violation of oath of office described, which include removal from office and confinement or fine. If you people actually want to, If you people actually want to stop criminals as you claim, you need to stop being criminals. Stop attacking law-abiding citizens and start addressing actual crimes. We will not comply. We will not compromise. We will not cooperate. We will not give another inch. Stop violating the Second Amendment. All right, it was super annoying to read that until I like that last part where he goes, if you people actually want to stop criminals as you claim, stop being criminals. I like that. That was good, right? It was just hard to read, but it's good. Hopefully gave you some ideas. So there's some good ones in there. I don't think it was boilerplate now that I've read it. This is definitely boilerplate. So what is that? One boilerplate now? Uh-oh, this one is not. Enough is enough with a question or the exclamation point. So this is number 19493. Oh, I guess I've been missing some comments. There's a zillion zeros and a zero and a zillion. Is that for true? Is that for really? From what I understand, where was I at? This guy's comment is nothing. What is that supposed to mean? Oh, you were saying that your comment is in here? Or I don't know what you're saying. Watch your neoliberal 15-minute video thing. So yeah, Clover off of air was like, hey dude, you know how awesome Walt is? And he started telling me about how awesome Walt is. And I'm like, yeah. So oh, you can search for people's names on here? Where do you do the searching? I'm not nosy. I didn't even try searching, I guess. Submitter info. Anonymous. Anyway, to a search generic comment, I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm not government. I'm not big state enough to know all the intricacies of your big state websites. Yeah, you're right. I use real websites of the earth, not government websites that are big state. From what I understand, they count guns with their serial number removed are lumped in with ghost guns. We don't know one way or the other. If you're commenting from that one boilerplate, that talks about, here's what the ATF said in January 2021. With any specific crime is a tragedy. While any specific crime is a tragedy, 8 such crimes out of the 1.1 million violent crimes committed in the relevant 6-year period is far cry from an overwhelming wave that would cause a state injury sufficient to confer standing. Nor can California plausibly plead that those crimes would have occurred with traditional serialized firearms. Yeah, I believe in this explanation, like that this is being quoted from, that the ATF basically said, hey, if we don't count, we have to count guns with serial numbers. So anything that don't have a serial number is a gun that don't have a serial number. So that would be like a gun melted in a fire. That would be a gun that was made by somebody out of toothpicks. That would be a gun that was halfway through construction. Like that could be anything. It could be a gun that was smushed, right? It's everything that isn't a gun that we can read is in a pile. And then they use the antis, people that resort to are only able to resort to manipulating data will take that data and suggest that that data somehow represents a number of guns that other dumbasses who only listen to people should be fearful of. So I think that's what you're talking about. But I don't think there's much to that other than a few comments that are mostly boilerplate that seem to allude to it. From reading these things day after day, or reading on multiple days, I should say, when I first read boilerplate, a lot of that boilerplate is decent. And they put in their fancy nerd words, and it's like, oh, wow, they must know what they're talking about. And then you read it twice, maybe the next day or something, and it's like, did I read that already? But once you read it like 50 times, they're not as interesting. But that first time you read them, they're good stuff. And that was one of my favorite things, actually, this part about January 2021, because when we first started reading these things, it was a month ago. So that was a lot closer or more recent or whatever. When you offer testimony, you state the for against nature, i.e. open comments, city councils. Okay. A zillion, no problem. Right on. Fake number. Oh, I see what's going on here. Is a zillion really a zillion zeros? That'd be interesting. Infinity has all the numbers and none of the numbers. There's a really neat trick where if you, let's say you take a bucket and you take 10 things and put it in the bucket, 10 stones, let's say, 10 bullets, let's say 10 9mm bullets, because those are worthless. You take 10 9mm bullets and you put them in a bucket, and then you take one out. And then you put 10 9mm bullets in a bucket, and you take one out. And then you take 10 9mm bullets and you put them in a bucket and you take one out. You can prove infinity both ways. You can have none in the bucket when you're done, and you can have all of them in the bucket when you're done, and they're both right. Math is awesome. Because you can look at it that you took 9 out of the bucket, you took 9 out of the bucket, and you took 9 out of the bucket. You can look at it, or however that comes out to. You can look at it that you're putting them in the bucket, and you can look at them that you're taking them out of the bucket indefinitely. Evidently, my comment is not showing up. Oh, so I don't know how to. You should have. Don't you get a tracking thing? I haven't commented this time around. I'm too lazy. I read other people's comments. But I haven't done one yet. You're supposed to get some sort of a tracker, I thought. I'm okay with giving up my rights and your rights to make this a better place, as long as it's safer. I agree with Kingpin. What do we need rights for? What if we just have lefts? What if we just left everything around for everybody else to do? And then we're left with a better world, right? Right? Oh, wait, I can't say right. I should just say nothing at the end, because that's what everything would be left with. When you're left with nothing, that's what the left gives you, nothing. Let's see, how long ago was it? Well, I can literally take a day. I don't know what that was talking about. Oh, you did a comment 5 days ago. I told him if my lowers weren't guns in the right, and I want a refund on my background checks unnecessary. Oh, that's interesting. I'm totally all right with everyone giving up everyone else's rights as long as they give up their guns to me. Then they can all come over and play with them if they want. That seems like maybe like some sort of a J.M. Davis thing where you put them on, you agree to put their guns in your place on a wall with glass, right? And you don't give them a lock or a key to the lock or nothing. So they can come in and look at their guns if they want, but I wouldn't want them touching them. Because what if you just got done cleaning them and then they're like, oh, here, I just got done eating a peanut butter sandwich with Cheetos. Let me look at my gun. 9mm people do that kind of stuff, so you got to be careful. Search my comments. You don't even know who D's Nuts is. D's Nuts is an actual dude who was way before any of you people, I think. Kingpin might remember D's Nuts. Let's see. It's an infinity bag. No, it's just a math trick you can do. It's not even a trick. It's not even a messed up one. It's just the way infinity works. I did get, and I got a tracker. Okay, good. I'll comment later if I need to. I don't like to comment because the ATF will come after you. Right now I'm clear. I'm 100% clear. The government doesn't even know I exist. I'm not even on any lists or nothing. So there's no way I'm making a comment. Because right now I basically live like the Long Ranger did. Just walk around, me and my van and my dog. It's like Tonto. We just go around doing stuff, and there's no taxes, and I don't have any kind of paper trail. I don't carry around a phone or nothing. Nobody knows where I'm at. All right. So next we're going to get to this giant one. 19493. Enough is enough. The government is beyond out of control, and it has been for a long time now. For the past 100 years, accountable and unelected bureaucracies like the ATF have been running roughshod over every sacred right that our founding fathers sought to protect. Yet, with every day comes another attack on the rights that your agencies and governing bodies literally have no right to infringe upon. Our founding fathers would be ashamed of us for allowing such an obvious attack on our God-given natural rights by collectivist groups from whom clearly intend to do us harm, such as yourselves. The ATF is clearly comprised of bad actors with ill intent. Otherwise, we would not be having this conversation. If there were any well-intentioned oath keepers in your agency, they certainly would have asked themselves and their colleagues, not, should we do this to American citizen? Rather, they would ask, do we even have the right? The answer to follow any logical, constitutionally minded, and intellectually honest agent would so obviously be no. Our founders acknowledged that the government in general terms was an unfortunate but necessary evil. To protect the citizens as much as possible from this evil, they officially codified our natural God-given rights second only to one, the right, not the privilege, to keep and bear arms. Notice they didn't say anything about what types of arms, parts, or arms, whatever. These same founders who wrote this into law of the land, knowing what an oppressive government could do to its citizens if they were deprived of this right. Therefore, any government entity attempting to restrict or infringe upon this right would constitute a direct conflict of interest. Why is this not apparent to you? Your attempts to undermine our core principles have exposed your malevolent intentions and rendered your agency illegitimate and repugnant to the U.S. Constitution. We, the governed, hereby revoke our consent to be governed by this illegitimate administration and its bureaucracies. Please vacate our buildings and administrative offices. Leave all of our documents and property behind. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation. That's weird, but I like it. I'd be down with this guy taking over the ATF. This chick is down. She can take over the ATF. Next, it's a weird one, but I like it. One is 19471 is a boilerplate. So way to click and paste, guy. That was a dude. Next up is 19419. This is boilerplate. Did we read this one already? We did, I think. So what are we at now? 3 boilerplates. Next up is 19465. Stop trying to remove gun rights and attacking the Second Amendment. Take it. I like that one. And it's not a boilerplate. Boilerplate. Damn it. What are we on? 4 boilerplates. And then we're back to this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I said if there was 5 boilerplates, then it's over, man. We're done. And there's 4 boilerplates. We're so close to being over as free individuals. It's over. The government might as well be on fire. It's over. It hasn't actually burned down, but it's on fire, and the fire department left because of defunding and societal problems because it's over. It's horrible. So I guess we're going to have to just quit democracy and capitalism. Both of those have failed. I'm going to delete a bunch of these and act like it never happened. And then I'm going to flip to another page because why not? We've been going for an hour. I'm going to flip to page 3. It's obvious that page 2 is going to blow chunks because even numbered pages are the worst pages. So we're going to go to just some random ones on page 3. All random. Don't worry about it. I'm just scrolling and right-clicking and opening a new tab randomly. You don't have to look for any pattern. There's no like special pattern I'm using or any kind of pattern. It's just all random. So now I went to another odd number page randomly picking a bunch of ones randomly. All the other ones are closed, so there's no confusion. This is starting from scratch, kind of. And here I'm going to click an even number page just so that I don't get any comments from the evens out there. You get all upset when you exclude them. And I'm again randomly. That's the whole point of this. Randomly picking some ones by right-clicking on them and open them in a new window. And now we'll close all evidence that it ever happened. And now we're going to go look. Boilerplate. 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 Oh, shit, I closed that one. How do I get back to it? History. Is it this one? It was boilerplate, but it said, let's keep our freedoms intact, y'all. So, yeah, it's like, oh, I'm almost boilerplate, but I want to do boilerplate, but I also want to say, let's keep our freedom intact, because that makes it so much different. And then it's like, let's keep our freedom intact. Like the ATF is going to be like, dang, y'all, let's do that. Now that they're including us in it, let's keep our freedoms intact now. Because it's not like all these laws fucking say that we're excluded from it anyway or nothing. So let's act like we're part of the people that we're oppressing. I don't get that. Anyway, so next we're up at the first one that isn't boilerplate. 17850. The ATF is not a place that is allowed to make or change laws. Adding rules as to what is a firearm will only make it confusing. Putting a serial number on one part is good enough. For those that make their own part do not need to have this done because most are only making such parts themselves. Also, having a database is not allowed either, so there's no need to have more than one serial number on any firearm. The Constitution has very specific wording as to what's allowed. Shall not be infringed. The right to bear arms. Just a couple of phrases that should be remembered. It's not bad. It's not good. Hey, since you're out here, I think Walt is still out here. Is there a way that you can filter and get rid of all these boilerplates? Like, is there a way to download or something and then filter them all out and then put them somewhere so I can just easily read them? Or like somebody could be tasked with doing that? Is that a possibility? Next up, boilerplate. Unaltered boilerplate. Like, I'll copy and I'll paste, but I'm not doing more than that. I'll copy and paste. And you don't even think, you think they're really copying and pasting, you think that they're really doing this and this and this and then clicking. You know they're just clicking a button somewhere. I'll click the button. I'm an activist. I activated the button. Next up is 17907. Stop ghost guns now. This country needs to rein in control. Okay, so stop ghost guns now. This country needs to rein in. Gun control matters and ghost guns are just part of the overall problem. Removing ghost guns does not restrain legal citizens from having their Second Amendment rights. Sons of bitches, you need to stop the ghost guns now. This country needs to rein in gun control matters, and ghost guns are just part of the overall problem. So they're about to rein it in. Now, they're going to read this one, so that's in there. All you anti-guns are happy that there's one of yours is read. So that's like 3, I think, out of the whole time I've been reading them for all these days. I think maybe 3. It hasn't been 5. It might be 4, but I think it's just 3. Boilerplate, which better? Anti-gun one that's funny or a shitty boilerplate that is just wasting everybody's time? Do you hate the national level organizations for putting boilerplate out there now? Or do you think that it's awesome that they put boilerplate out there because now people go, oh, I'm an activist. I went and sent a boilerplate letter in by clicking a button. Like, F you, guy at the gun shop, I'm an activist. And then everybody walks around thinking they've accomplished something, but in reality, we've just effectively put a bunch of stuff from one file cabinet into another. And they've actually probably look at that as like, oh, that's just how much political influence they have. And then they write it off as a characteristic of the battle. It's not like whatever. So next up is 17877. I strongly dissent to this proposed rule. From the beginning of American history, citizens of this country have been able to create their own firearms for personal use. The ability to create one's own firearm can be essential to defense and preservation of an individual's rights. Manufacturing firearms for sale are completely separate from citizens making firearms for personal use. It is already illegal to manufacture firearms with the intent to sell these firearms without the proper licensing. However, this proposed rule would virtually make the ability for any American citizen to arm themselves impossible. Not only would this proposed rule severely crack down making firearms for self, but also for the maintenance of existing owned firearms. The registration hassles with each new component being labeled as a firearm would not only discourage Americans from owning firearms, but those that already own firearms could be labeled as a criminal overnight because the gun they once bought was legal, now considered multiple guns that they would need to be serialized and registered, most likely at some sort of expense. This proposed rule is anti-constitutional, anti-intellectual intellectual and is severely threatening to the future of this great nation. I disagree with this proposed rule and urge that the rule be retracted. That is, I think, super important. I think people need to state clear stately for the robots that are reading this and the humans that might pick it up just to verify what the robots told them. F you and every one of them for sure. And then I disagree with this. Just so you don't misunderstand what I'm saying, you idiots. No, right? Like no on this, not just no like I hate you, because that's obvious. But no, I hate you and don't do this thing right here that you're acting like you're going to do. All right, so next, the fact that the ATF is still, okay, next one is real. 17886. The fact that the ATF is still a thing is astonishing to me. The ATF does not make the public safer. Oh, I must have misread that. The ATF does not make the public safer. I must have read that wrong. The ATF does not make the public safer. The ATF does not stop crimes from being committed. The ATF does not go after violent felons like the ones who were throwing Molotov cocktails in the recent videos, which are categorized by the ATF to be destructive devices or explosives, right? That is who the ATF is supposed to be going after, and they aren't. I guess I'm commenting because it's happening. Nobody has ever mentioned that yet. It's the ATFE. We're not saying it because we're lazy, but they're the fucking Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and fucking Explosives. So why the fuck aren't they going after explosives? I bet you there's more explosives problems than there is rifle problems. Prove me wrong on that. Go do some research. Instead, the ATF is going after law-abiding gun owners by redefining terms and changing regulations to turn ordinary, good, sane, sober, moral, prudent people into felons by changing rules, moving goalposts, and infringing on the people's God-given right to keep and bear arms as is recognized by the Constitution. Tell me, how is this proposed redefinition of firearm going to make the people more safe? Well, I got a bug flying around, so I'll have to read that again. Tell me, how is this proposed redefinition of a firearm going to make the people more safe? How is this going to reduce violent crime? How is this going to benefit anyone? It won't, and the ATF is well aware of this fact. This is nothing more than a power grab by the ATF disguised as a common sense regulation. It is purpose-built to be vague, and this ambiguity that allows the ATF to interpret things as they so choose. This is meant to be vague to allow the ATF the power of selective interpretation. It is meant to confuse the public as to what is and what is not legal, so the ATF can more easily convict ordinary people who simply cannot keep up with their ever-changing interpretation of legality as per ATF arbitrary decisions. The current regulations in place and enforced by the ATF are blatantly unconstitutional, and this proposed redefinition of a firearm is no more than another avenue by which to erode the constitutional rights of we the people. Damn. Whoever the hell this is should get like, oh dang, there's their name too. Somebody named Liam. So I guess somebody named Liam is right on. That's awesome. Here's what I would have done. I'll mansplain it anyway. I would have put some carriage returns in here, right? Like some of this stuff I think would have been more whatever by having it like hit enter once in a fucking while. How is it going to reduce violent crime? Enter. How is it going to benefit anyone? Enter, right? That kind of thing. This is a really good one. Liam knocked it out of the park. Liam is more 2A than most people. So, let me go back and hit that super chat. Oh shit, there hasn't been any super chats. So you people don't have to. But everybody else who's new to this place, why don't you throw me a super chat, cheap bastards? This is capitalism. You think I do this for free? I do this because I ain't got no other job coming in. Throw some money at me. All right, so next up is, I'm going to leave this one here. You can all read this one. I think everybody should take some advice from this one. Go push over something. Makes you mad. All right, so next one is 17956. I would like to start by saying that a law enforcement agency exists to enforce laws, not create new laws on a whim because they are bad at enforcing current laws. Oh man, I like that one. So I'm gonna start again because I laughed. I would like to start by saying that a law enforcement agency, wait. Okay, so there's like some problems with this writing, I guess, but whatever. I would like to start by saying that a law enforcement agency exists to enforce laws, not create new ones on a whim because they are bad at enforcing current laws. It is absolutely absurd that your organization thinks that you can tell people that this is about protecting people rather than controlling them. Do you sincerely believe that prohibited persons that have ghost guns are going to go to an FFL to get them serialized? Who exactly are you trying to prevent having guns? Why is your organization hellbent on turning millions of Americans into felons overnight? That's ridiculous. History shows that cruel dictators' first step was to disarm the people and tell them to trust the government to have their interests. Most criminals get guns through straw sales, implement a feature while doing a background check that FFLs can report that an individual is probably buying guns for felons, and allow a NICS check to be done by private individuals so that we can run background checks if we choose on private sales. After that, all you have to do is see who's buying polymer 80s by the thousands, and that's probably an illegal enterprise. You cannot expect Americans to serialize every single AR upper and bulk carrier group they have. That is discrimination against poor Americans and especially to Black Americans. The right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Well, racist, but I think I was down until the part about where they like got in bed and started having weird rubbing issues with the ATF. There's no fucking way I don't like this. We can have a discussion about this like little button that the FFLs can push to report that they think it's a straw purchase. This person doesn't work in a gun shop. It would be illegal to run something you thought was a straw purchase. So there's no like, hey, here, ATF, I'm going to help you out. That's what you really want. You don't know what you're saying, but you really want every FFL to work for the ATF, which would mean incentives, which would mean a reason for the FFL to arrest you. That seems like a dumbass move. So let's assume that this person has probably got good intent, but that's a dumbass thing to push for. Now, this part about that allow NICS checks to be done by private individuals, that's where you just got into bed with the ATF and started rubbing on the parts of their body that they asked you to rub on. I don't think that's cool. So I'm not doing that. Like, there's no fucking way I'm going to ask for the ATF to give us a NICS check that we can run on each other. Fuck all of that. Sorry for the language, but fuck all of that. There's no possible way. This was a good comment, but this person, this is an opportunity. I'm not going to click on their name to call them out. This is an opportunity to talk to your friends and find out if they really want to suck off the ATF or they want the ATF to fuck off. So this is not a good one. This was a weird one. This was like a candy-coated rat turd. Got to be careful when you're eating stuff out of a bag. Maybe there's a reason to eat stuff that your grandma made and not stuff out of a bag. All right, this is another boilerplate. Another boilerplate. Okay, now we got a good one. Let's see, 19963. I'm just curious what exactly our founding fathers would think, not about what the ATF has become, but rather that the ATF even exists. I like this one already. This is just another blatant example of government overreach. You think you're allowed to just decide on a whim what is and what isn't a firearm? You're a government agency with no power whatsoever to create law. So instead, you go ahead and think you are going to determine a piece of plastic is a firearm? Since the country's founding, American citizens have been able to produce their own firearms. I strongly suggest that the rogue ATF start listening to the citizens of this country, stop treading on Americans' rights every day. Some of this language, like every day or at the last stages, just makes you sound like fatalistic and you don't know what's really going on. So they're your employee. Tell them to stop and don't get worried about what somebody who needs you to tune in tomorrow. Look, I'm obviously here every day, right? I ain't going anywhere, and there ain't one super chat in here. I don't care if you show up or don't. None of you people, have enough money to throw me a super chat every day. When I'm out there making content for the masses so that a bunch of suckers will throw me a super chat the first time they hear something they like to hear, that's when you got to be careful. But this language of like, oh, it's happening every minute or at the brink of whatever, that makes us, I think you'll lose credibility. We lose credibility as a group, right? So let's not need the sky is falling language, but otherwise good. I mean, at least it was handwritten, right? At least it was the 19,000th one, and it's somebody who's on our side, motivated to use a bullshit website, to do basically nothing. We're really just, this is sort of like having a flag going into battle. This is like somebody who's the flag bearer. Everybody goes, nobody needs a flag bearer. A couple of people understand why you have a flag bearer. The guy that holds the flag usually understands the significance of walking into battle without a firearm, because you're holding a flag, which is there for the morale of the fuckers that are going to slay, right? So there's reasons to do some of this stuff that on the surface, to the uneducated or the lazy, the people that have never fought before, like those people think that some of this stuff is unnecessary. Those that do, I appreciate it. And for, you're not necessarily the flag bearer, you know, you're doing something else, but you're doing something else that's equally as unsung and as sort of necessary. It doesn't make the world better. It just makes it keep going. And they can't wail on us with these things. They're already trying. They're trying to do 2 comment periods simultaneously. They've never done that before. It's an indication that they're running out of angles. They're running out of a consistent methodology that works for them. They're having to try different things. If you don't see that as an indication that we're winning, then you're not even playing, right? You're an observer. Oh, I didn't really try to shame you. I'm trying to shame, there's like 28 people, and I'm not trying to shame like the 4 people that have already super chatted me, but I do appreciate it. You know, you'll get something back on that whenever I send something to you again. A well-regulated militia being necessary to secure a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So yeah, I couldn't remember security before, damn it. But just give them the Second Amendment. Yeah, great, dude. That's like getting a tattoo of the snake or whatever. You accomplished something for yourself. Let's keep our firearms freedoms intact, y'all. So that was as equivalent to tying a big American flag to the back of your pickup and taking off your muffler and blowing past the police station. It was about the exact amount of, that you did there. I think we're done. There was some good stuff in there. There was some amazing stuff. There was a couple of amazing ones, but not that many. It's definitely more difficult to find them. I feel like the government has made it more difficult for us to just have stuff, and now they make us have to go find the stuff, which they put on the web. I don't know. I'm going to need some feedback on this one. I definitely don't get a lot of super chats. I've made that clear. So it's not like I'm raking in the money doing this. I find it sort of interesting, and I was curious as to like looking back to see if they did with the comments or whatever. But let me know if this is worthwhile or not. It's worth putting the time into it. Would this take an hour or something? We found a couple of good ones, and it's almost more discouraging because we're having to turn on ourselves. Bingo, the fucking ATF figured out a way to screw with us, make those of us who are actually efforting, divide on how much we're efforting, how effectively or in what way we're efforting, right? So anyway, that happens all the time. We have to pay attention to what we're doing, and then we have to, communicate with each other. Some people are going to consider that horking on each other, and others are going to consider that a pat on the back, offers of encouragement, and others never going to admit it, but they need the bit at their heel. Right? Other people need to be motivated by showing that they don't do shit. So if it does any of that, it accomplished something. If it gave a couple of you something to listen to for a little while, then there you go. Otherwise, I'm looking for comments from the people that use. See if anybody even watches these things. I do them for the live. The rest of the stuff that happens after the live can, it just happens. I don't really care if it happens or not. So if I go to the video comments, when did I do one of these before? Shall we read the ATF comments? 239. Before that was, just me suggesting that they're doing it. Before that was 300. So yeah, people listen to this. So they're like 26 now. So if anybody's listening to this in the future, you are determining whether or not we're going to read one in the future. What is this? Comment tracking number. Let me open this. Over to here, over to here. Determining whether or not. Shut up, dude. And then, yeah, I've got bad internet. It cuts out whenever the ATF tries to stifle me or whenever YouTube is out to get me. That is because Patreon is out to get me, and who else is out to get me? PayPal is out to get me. Everybody's out to get me. Where do I stick this thing to sort for them? comment tracking number, that thingy. So if I were to click on a comment and then click on the comment, let's see, that's going to go to there. So how do I, maybe just plain old documents, type in here. No. Refine comments. I think I found a way to type though. Oh, I bet this is all a delicate ballet of unanticipated outcomes, and they've got us all figured out. Yeah. Oh, it looks like we can search comments, but I'm not finding that particular one. Try to get rid of the dashes. I doubt that'll do it. Try to give me the you know, the number, the 100 or whatever number over here. Right, I gotta go back to the video and then get the link from the video. Like, try to give me one of these. It's up to 23, so they just added 1,000 comments. Let's just go really quick, real quick. Like, we'll just spend a little while checking out some of these most recent ones. These say the 7th, which is still yesterday. I respectfully but strongly oppose the change in definition, this is new, of a receiver and in the proposed regulatory change in the identification of firearms. This not only goes against a century of court case precedents, but also against state and federal law's definition of firearms receivers. All this will do is speed a case to the Supreme Court, which will overturn this unlegislated and unconstitutional decision. The entire proposed ruling is a knee-jerk reaction which will not prevent or mitigate violent crime, but will only criminalize previously innocent and law-abiding citizen. Is that the intent? I hope you reconsider this arbitrary and capricious change. Thank you very much for your time and have a pleasant day. Alex, with his own last name. That's pretty cool. I don't know if I've read that one before. It kind of seems familiar, but I don't remember seeing one with a name like that. Next up, I guess these are new ones. These are just hot off of the presses. This one was received on May 20th. What? And it was just now submitted? What? That if you are not upset with the ATF for lots of other things, now you can be upset with the ATF because it takes them a while to come up with the comments. Sons of bitches. Why isn't the government way bigger? Why can't they hire way more people to make the government even bigger so that when they go to infringe on us and ask us if it's okay to infringe on us and we say no, then they can immediately recognize that we said no. I think the government should be even bigger. This infringement only hurts the law-abiding citizens in America. American people are sick and tired of ATF playing God with our rights. When the entire organization and the NFA is already in a direct infringement on our Second Amendment, you still persist in enacting regulations and laws that make it harder and harder for Americans to own firearms. Did I read this one before? No one will comply with these regulations, and the federal government lacks the manpower to even enforce them. So again, the only people affected by this useless regulation are the people who would already not be breaking any laws. The Second Amendment is written so plainly a child can understand it, yet the AFT continues to try and infringe on the rights of the American people, which aren't guaranteed by a person or a government. They are God-guaranteed rights. Sorry, God-given rights. I had to cough that whole time. So that was actually pretty good. A little weird, but it was pretty good. I would be scared if they weren't a little weird. All right, I guess I got to drink some of my lime. I don't know if I scared everybody off, but nobody's commenting anymore. I don't know if I read these or not. This one is comment 177771. I'm almost positive I would remember that comment number. And that's an easy comment number to remember. I'm going to take that comment because it's so awesome. And I'm going to search comments. Oh, shit, I can search comments right there. See, it will let me search a comment with that. Now I'm going to try taking what you sent me. And I just found a place to search right here. Nope. See, it doesn't take that. That must be for you in your internal, deal with the ATF and your comment. I think I just did it. No, I didn't read this one. 177771. All of these rule changes against the Second Amendment, all of these changes would be illegal. Short and sweet makes it obvious and clear. The new definitions create an undue burden on legal ownership without a nationwide registry or tracking private. The new definitions create an undue burden on legal ownership without a nationwide registry or tracking private party sales. It will do nothing in preventing or reducing crime. Holy crap, dude. Are you on our side? Because this is the dude who's on our side and knocks us over as we're trying to exit the burning building because he's so much on our side that he knocked us over so we didn't get out of the burning building. Hold off a way long time here, dude. Don't go around telling them, hey, this is great, except without way more burden, it won't do enough. What the hell kind of comment is that? That's a bad comment. This is a bad comment. Don't do this comment. And then view more documents. What's that all about? Sons of bitches. The ATF keeps putting up new ones. So now there's one on definition of a receiver, definition of a framer receiver, and a new document created by DOJ Robert ATF. And then they're like, fuck you, there's no document. What are you talking about? So screw you, ATF, and your weirdness. So we're going to go back to there and there. No, we're not. Stupid ATF. There. All right. Well, I guess with that now we're done. So again, thanks to Clover for throwing $5. I think we've been throwing that $5 back and forth, or maybe I'm maybe $10 ahead, but whatever. Thanks for throwing $5 at me, and I'll eventually throw $5 back at you whenever I got $5 to throw around. And thanks to the people that support us on Patreon, which if I close this, it would say thanks to people that support us on Patreon. Think of Patreon as buying a subscription service to stuff that's awesome. So I don't think Kingpin has a Patreon, but I know that Clovertech has a Patreon. And who else is watching here today has a Patreon? Walt is scared of Patreon because he's a new kid. He has to use the, what's it called? The coin purse or something. He uses this other one, the Scrim Scram. I think it's called the Scrim Scram. I forget what it's called. He uses the Penny Saver. I don't know what it's called. He uses a different one that's the kids use it, and it's better than Patreon because it's hip, trendy. But otherwise, you can support a lot of people by supporting them directly. And when you do that, you get more valid, useful, actual stuff instead of the fake garbage that a lot of dumb people like. So it fits in the middle and it makes a lot of money. Boring. So thanks for watching. We'll be back to pick you up later.